How's your relationship with time? Are you wired and tired, stressed and overwhelmed, busy and going nowhere? Or just want to scale your business? Welcome to Take Back Time with your host, Penny Zenker. Penny focuses on books, strategies, tools, and tips to help you work smarter and approach your time more strategically. As a result, you can have more energy, focus, and get more done in less time. Be more efficient and effective. Get ready to take back time.
Hello, and welcome to Take Back Time. My name is Penny Zenker, and I'm your host. And I'm excited today to have another energetic soul who loves to connect, as she says, connect the world one person at a time on purpose with purpose. And I love that because my word of the year this year is purpose.
Oh, really? Excellent.
Yes, it really is. So to all of you who are listening, I'm here today with coach, speaker, expert connector, Ginger Johnson. She is an entrepreneur and has been running her own company since 2002. And she's excited and driven to help leaders and entrepreneurs and other high performers to become world-class connectors. So without further ado, Ginger, welcome.
Woo! Thanks, Penny. Thanks for the invite. And let's do this on purpose. I love your word of the year. That's great.
Yeah, you know what it is? It's that somebody had written up that they wanted you to put a word that described the upcoming year with the first initial of your name.
Oh.
Right? So I was already looking for a P word. And, and a lot of what I do is also, around productivity and time management, reducing stress, and a lot of those things. It comes down to being very clear and purposeful about what you're doing, why you're doing it. And with this new decade, I believe now more than ever, for me anyway, that doing things, that really matter are much more in focus for me.
Absolutely. And I would totally echo that, Penny. Definitely. When we have the intention, we have the purpose, and that guides and clarifies. The great thing about clarity, as you probably know, is it helps productivity. It helps everything, because when you focus in with purpose, you let other stuff go that doesn't matter, that doesn't feed the progress. So it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah. And I want to come back to that, or maybe let's continue on that piece, and we'll come back to hearing more about, how you got where you are. But, talking about that, why is it that it seems when you're really clear about your purpose and your goal, that it almost gives you permission, there's a freedom with it that allows you to let go of other things? Why is that?
That's a great question, Penny. I think clarity allows you to let go of other things, so to speak, to be super technical, because we decide what the things we're going to focus on are. For example, when I speak with audiences and give workshops and so forth, I do an exercise called the ripples. And I ask people to get super clear on who the people in their life are. And this is a nod to one of my coaches, Brendon Burchard. Says there's 3 groups of friends. There's the kind of the incidentals, there's the sometimes, and then there's the really close. And get really clear on who those people are, Penny, because that's who you're giving your life to. That's why that matters. It's not to do with judgment or exclusion or inclusion or anything. And by the way, those 2 concepts are really good to get familiar with. And when we're clear, then that gives us the permission to say, you know what, I'm going to focus on Penny, and that means I'm not going to focus on that other thing. And that feels great because that's my purpose.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the people that we spend time with, as they say, right? The top 5, 10, whoever you want to listen to a quote, determine, what our results are going to be based on who we hang out with. So that is really important. And it's important to be purposeful, like you said, about that, and to think about it in terms of those groups. I've heard some different names about it, but I think that that's really key. And for people who are listening, how could you relate it to them if it's not friends? How could you relate it to their business?
Sure. So ripples applies for everybody. Getting really clear on who your relationships are, creating and developing relationship on purpose, that's my area of expertise. And so when I help people think about that, Penny, I want them to think about who are the people who you believe to be critical in your life. And it's not, I think what we need to do is zoom out, as I call it, and say, get rid of the have-tos and the shoulds. In fact, in my book, The Canon, I talk about get rid of the have-tos and the shoulds. That's pressure. That's somebody else waving the finger. Think about the want tos and the get tos. That's so much better. That's so much more truly empowering, coming from inside and not extrinsic. And so when we're focusing on those people in our lives, no matter where we think they fit categorically, then we get a lot clearer. And frankly, a lot of people in business need to fire some clients this year. I'm going to challenge your audience. First challenge of this interview, like, clean house. Get super duper crystal clear, as I call it, on who the relationships are in your life, because dimes to donuts, the axiom is true. It's the, I forget, there's somebody that starts with a P. It's their principle, the 80-20 rule.
Oh, Pareto,
and
right. The Pareto principle.
Who are the people who really enrich your life? Who do you want to enrich their lives to? Those kinds of things. So it's everywhere. And when you're really clear on that, you're happier, you sleep better, you take better care of yourself. I mean, the symptomatic impact is everything in our lives. It's really that straightforward. So I encourage people, think about your life holistically. Don't just work and play. Like, if you're really loving what you're doing, if there's true purpose, then it's all tied in. And if it's not tied in, this is the perfect time, another P word, to take a look at where are you putting these precious hours of your life you're never going to get back, because it's all up to you. You are in charge. Everybody has 24/7. Nobody is forcing you to do anything. It's your choice.
Yeah. And, you know, like you said, with the Pareto principle, right? It's those 20% of the people that you hang out that are going to give you 80% of the results. And that, you know, I like that idea of, you know, stepping back, zooming out, and really, are there clients that aren't the best clients for you? They drain you. They're not, you know, they're not the best and optimal use of your time. You know, are you spending the time you need to be spending with your team and giving them the attention that they need? Are you creating partners, right? I believe the greatest way to growth in our business is through really great partnerships and finding those people that are great, you know, a great fit, a great complement, and growing together, right? Through collaboration.
Yes. Yes. You've probably read Growth by Carol Dweck, I'm guessing.
You know, I'm not sure that I have. No, I have not.
Phenomenal book I would recommend to everybody. Growth by Carol Dweck, W-E-C-K. And in it, she talks about how the best partners, to use your word, are the ones who challenge you to grow. They don't just let you maintain. The status quo means the state in which. So what state do you want to be in? What do you want your status quo to be? You get to dictate that. You get to decide that. And so get really clear on who those people are, who will support you, who will support. Not just support. Support is not a static concept. It's a growth concept.
Right.
If you're in a growth mindset, like Carol talked about, versus the fixed mindset, which is, you know, this is the way it's always been, this is the way it's going to be, then that's going to be on YouTube.
Absolutely. So, you know, you guys have it who are listening, you know, there's a couple of challenges here for you to really step back and take a look at who it is that you are giving your time and attention to, and make sure that it's that in all of these P's, you know, the partners.
So peas in a pod has a new meaning now, Penny.
Yeah, really, right? We're just going to be full of alliteration. The purpose of your partners is perfectly purposeful in presenting
participation for profitability.
Productivity and profitability. There you have it.
Brought to you by the letter P.
So we could have the whole show on that, right?
I love it. Sesame Street's got nothing on you, Penny.
But there it is. I mean, you know, it's a world of P's for the 2020, right? So mind your P's and not so much your Q's.
The questions along that line is good, or quartz, you know.
Yeah, that's true. That's true, right? So let's come back to you. Let's hear more about Ginger Johnson. Why are you so passionate about, you know, and energetic about this area of connectivity?
Human connection is the juice. Human connection is what we all crave. We are social creatures, and whether it's one person or a room of 1,000 or cast of thousands, we are social animals, and there is some profundity and some survival still back in our DNA, which we don't necessarily have to pay attention to all the time, depending on where you're at in the world. And human connection provides us so many things, Penny. Fundamentally, it gives us the stimulation. It gives us love. It gives us, we can partner together and find food. I mean, it's everything about having a connection with at least one other person in this world has to do with us feeling connected with our lives. So like the American Psychological Association says there's an epidemic of loneliness and disconnect. Okay, may be true. And here's the great news. That is totally reversible, and it is completely in all of our own commands. So we can't go crying off in the corner and say, oh, I'm so lonely, I can't do anything about it. That's baloney. I'm going to give the second challenge. If you're feeling like you're not connected with somebody, first of all, connection is not a phone. Connection is not a laptop. It's not a tablet. It's not a screen.
Not Facebook?
No, it's not. Really? With decades of marketing, I can tell you that all those platforms, they are mechanical tools. They are avenues. The person-to-person, real-time, face-to-face human connection will never be supplanted with anything else. So if you're feeling lonely or isolated, call out to somebody, reach out to somebody, pick up the phone, get on a Zoom call, like go out to your local coffee shop, heck, go to your post office, walk down the street, say hello to somebody. Here's the deal with connection, Penny. This is what I love so much about it. I love that we are in complete command. And for the record, I didn't start this way. I wasn't a shy kid. So people come up to me like, oh, but Ginger, you're so good at it. Well, yeah, it's a skill. That's the juice, Penny. It's a skill. So we can all flex those muscles. We can all get those muscles back into shape. If you're flabby, start working out. You're in total command. And again, in the canon, I outline the framework of how do I actually connect with another person? Because I hear real life stories every day that are both heartbreaking and simultaneously so encouraging. People say, I don't know how to meet people. And I could go down the, oh my gosh, that's tragic road. But I'm going to pivot, another keyword, and say, there's your opportunity. And it's that Y in the road, as I call it, that's your opportunity. You can go. It's a free country. And in most parts of the world, you are able to meet other people. So get out there and do the work in connecting with people. And I have all kinds of tactics on my YouTube, LinkedIn, my newsletter, all those things I share regularly, hopefully very generously, because I want people to say, well, I'm an introvert. How do I do this? Great. It's one of the top questions I get. Right. I feel like I don't get along. I don't have anything in common with my coworkers. I'm like, oh man, let me bust that one wide open, because we always will have more in common than what we don't have in common.
Right.
And
also where we focus, right? It's where we're focused.
Yes.
So,
yes.
I want to come back to the idea and some of those tips around, connectivity, and because you sparked a couple of questions for me. I feel that all this like Facebook and all of these social and text messaging and so forth, these ways to connect to one another, I have a feeling that it's made us more disconnected. Why are people more lonely now than ever before?
Is that a question you're asking me?
Yeah. So what do you think about that? Like, that's just I haven't read it anywhere that is but I think we're disconnected because we think we're connecting, but they're such shallow connections. They're not real connections. And so it's not fulfilling a need that we have inside.
I think you just nailed it. So yes. So those are all of those tools, platforms, avenues, whatever you might call them, are ways forward. They will never again supplant or replace human-to-human in-person connection. So I have people tell me that it's easier for them to email. I'm going to call BS on that, because it's simple, but is it really easier? Is it faster? Is that what they're really saying? Like, I'm a word nerd, and let's really get into what we think we're saying. So when people say, oh, we're more connected than ever, I'm totally calling the flag on that one. We are not. We are more technologically bound. We have more. It's mind-blowing, Penny, how many ways we can communicate, or at least avenues for communication. But communication, just like connectivity, isn't assumed just because. Right. Just because I'm calling you on the phone doesn't mean that it's sure. I mean, body language and nonverbal and verbal and tone and volume and all those things that we learn about, that's where I would highly recommend, I'll challenge again, get out there and learn about listening. Julian Treasure is amazing. Get out there and learn about your body language. Amy Cuddy's groundbreaking TEDx or TED Talk. We're on to things when we really are willing to say, okay, how am I going to go forth and put my best person forward on purpose? That's to increase my skills first. So go back to school, y'all. Invest in yourself, get the coach, go to the workshop, whatever. And when you do these things, here's another tactic I would share, Penny. We go to events, we go to workshops, we hire coaches, and all those things are super valid, important. I really believe that everybody gets better only with help of other people. Mm-hmm. When you go, like my friend Rhonda Kalman says, manage your expectations. Now, what that means is set an intention. What is the purpose of going to a workshop with 600 other people? Are you really trying to overload your brain, or do you want to take one thing that's valuable? That's where I go with it. Years ago, I decided, because I'm a voracious reader, there's so many great books, there's so much I want to read. I'm not going to put that pressure on myself to say, oh, I have to remember everything about this book. No, I'm going to take one thing away, because you know what? I can read the book again. Or I read one chapter, and that's enough to blow my head open for the time being.
Right.
Let that sink in. Let that be purposeful, to use your word.
Right.
And then add another when you're ready. So we're not more humanly connected. We are more technologically strung together. The challenge, again, is make that goal for yourself to get out and meet people in your own community, in your travels, wherever that might be. That is what yields a fulfilling life, is your relationships of real meaning and worth and depth.
Yeah, like when you said about that person who sent, it's easier or faster to send the email. I think that, if somebody's introverted, I'm not an introvert. So, I can only imagine I have moments of introversion, but I could imagine it's that it's easier because you're not being seen, like there is something to being face-to-face. I mean, why is sales more effective face-to-face? It just is, right? I mean, yes, you can sell on the internet and all these places, but face-to-face it'll never be replaced.
Here's why sales, I'm really glad you brought this up, and I talk about that in my book too, on sales and marketing for connectivity. When we are face-to-face, what are we doing? We are serving. That is huge. In the 7 elements of connectivity, I call it the cosmos. Mm-hmm. The first one is why, and then mindset, and then everything else follows. You have to have a service mindset, Penny. You have to. If not, you're just shoving. The conventional model of sales, of overcoming, that's the biggest bunch of crap that's hit the pavement since the parade went by, right? If we're focused on trying to overcome, trying to persuade, cajole, and do all and convince, 10 years of my life in one of my previous businesses, that's what I was doing. Ooh, I will not call it a waste of time. It was an enormous lesson that I will not repeat. It's not a failure unless you don't try. And so now I know that what you do when you are face-to-face is you are able to relax. Your shoulders drop. You can read the body language. You can smell the environment. You can hear everything that's going on. That's when you are best able to serve. That's why it happens. Yeah, you can mechanically sell something online. You can do it over the phone, whatever. But the strongest bond will be with that human connection, hands down. That's why people, quote, win business. That's why they lose business, because they don't do it. I don't know about you, but anytime I get an email solicitation that somehow makes it through my filter, it's like, would you be interested? I'm like, no, it's flat out. Like, no, I want to meet you first.
Right.
And that's not always possible in this global world that's always been a global economy, for the record. At the same time, there are ways electronically to get to know people. And I cover some of that in my talks and my workshops and my coaching too, because I realized, I remember one time I had a lawyer in one of my classes, and she said, well, I work very remotely, and all my clients, we patch in. Like, how do I develop that human connection? Oh, that's something real. I get that. That's absolutely legit. And there are ways you can connect with people using technology, but technology will never transplant it.
Distractions are the enemy of productivity. Go to distractionquiz.com and find out your distraction profile. Are you a time zombie or a hamster? Take this free distraction quiz today to rate your ability to focus on what keeps you from being a wizard. Go to distractionquiz.com.
So you mentioned that you have these, 7, what do you call them?
The elements of connectivity. I call it a cosmos because, like, I have a grid, but that's kind of boring.
Connectivity.
Yeah, it's the cosmos.
The cosmos of connectivity. Right now we're in the seas, not any longer in the peace. can you quickly go through what those 7 are? And then, of course, we'll point people in direction of where they can get access to your book and see some of the great talks that you've done and videos that are available online and how they can get more in touch with you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. The great thing is that all these steps are available on my website too. So if you want some great resources, they are out there and ready for you. So the elements of connectivity made themselves known when I was writing the Canon, Penny. I wrote the book for 2 reasons. I wanted to be really clear so people could use it, and I use it to leverage in my own business building. So for those people who are thinking about writing a book for their business, you want to have a side conversation on that, we can talk about that. And I love it. It's really fun. It's hardcover, so it's differentiated. It's got gold pages. And so the framework made itself known when I was writing, and I know people can't read it, but it's a basic grid. I made it into a cosmos because it's more fun to draw, and my art degree comes in handy. And actually over my wall over there. And so think of it as a cosmos, as a galaxy, okay? And in the center is your why. It's your purpose, your vision. It's one of the primary lessons I teach in groups. And people are fundamentally and profoundly moved by this exercise. It's so much fun because people change their lives in that moment. It's like nothing else I've ever experienced, honey. But at the core is the why. You got to know your own vision. You got to be able to close your eyes and say, how do I picture myself? That's what a vision is. It's not some empty, pithy paragraph on the wall. It's your purpose.
Right.
Next step out is your mindset, AKA attitude. Where's your head in all this? If you have a solid why, like my why is to connect the world. 3 simple words. That's it. If my mindset isn't there, if I'm not ready to connect the world, I'm not going to be effective. I'm not going to be enthusiastic. I'm not going to be positive. So that's my check. Like, am I in the right mindset? Is my attitude proper for what I want to accomplish? And here's the grace. Like in chapter 9, permission slips, like give yourself some grace. Give yourself some slack once in a while. Say, you know what? I'm just like, I'm having a day. And we all have them. Like give yourself the permission, right? To go inward, to be a crab, to go hiking, to like whatever you need. Take care of yourself first because you cannot possibly serve somebody else. Grind culture is BS. You've got to take care of yourself first before you can serve anybody else. You've got why and then mindset. And then the next 5 are very tactical, Penny. And I love building things. And so this very structured, here's how you actually do it, is really useful. The first step is first move. So you and I are in the post office. I'm standing behind you. I make an opening question, comment, something like that. That's a first move. The very first point of contact, usually verbal contact, in what can maybe be a connection, but it's not a connection yet. It's a first contact, the first move. You've got to make that first move. That's usually the biggest hurdle for a lot of people too, is that the confidence to speak up. And so that's the first of the 5 tactical. The next one is why in the road. You've made the first move. I've said something to you in the post office, and we just there's a very brief conversation usually, and it's either stay or go. That's why I call it the why. And the stay, like, wow, this is a pretty cool woman. I think I want to get to know her more. And that's where it could go. Or, she does this, or there's something about that conversation that sparks me wanting to keep it going. So then I stay with that. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, that was pleasant, or sometimes not pleasant.
Right.
I'm going to go. There are 7 other billion people on the planet, and I'm going to find somebody else, and you keep going. So that's also where a lot of the muscle I talked about earlier, like make the first move, because that's the jump, that's the leap, and then that will appear. Get the why in the road. You get to decide, do I stay or do I go? So after that, the next one, the third one, is pursue your path. Let's get some speed, shall we? So if you stay, you and I decide to have coffee, or we go for a hike or something. That is continuing to see where the connection can go. And this is where we start to get into connection territory. If we go the other way, we are then seeking and trying this again. We repeat the first move, and it's this beautiful circle of possibility. I love it. So your path. So why, mindset, first move, why in the road, pursue your path. The last 2 are essentially twins, Penny. And it's a completely family-friendly acronym. It's FUFT, F-U-F-T. So it sounds like a Dr. Seuss word, like the truffula tree. And FUFT stands for follow up, follow through. This is the juice, my friend, because when we follow up, which is the immediate subsequent action to that development, then we follow through, which is the long-term care and feeding. That is where the most massive opportunity is. And it's where the flip side of opportunity is we let stuff drop. Have you ever gone to a networking event, the N word, and you've collected cards and you've stashed them somewhere, you forget about them, you come across them days, weeks, months, years later, and you're like, oh, you have the moment, give yourself some permission, it happens to everybody.
Right.
And that is the opportunity to follow up and follow through. Like I was speaking with a group in Nebraska a couple of weeks ago, a fantastic group, and I said, has anybody ever done this? Well over half the hands. I'm like, I get it too. I find it here. I tucked it there so I wouldn't forget where it was. And I find it. And I encourage people, like, say 3 years have gone by, pick up the phone and call that person. Here's what's going to happen. This is hilarious. Like, all of a sudden we start laughing at ourselves, right? Humor is so important for connectivity. People, when they say what they want in a mate, humor is often in the top few. I need somebody with a sense of humor, which means they can let the crap go and they can focus on what matters, and they can laugh at all the silliness that is us in our lives. So pick up the phone and say, hey, Penny, this is Ginger. Not sure if you remember me. We met 3 years ago. We met 2 months ago. I have your card. And I just want to tell you that even though it was all that time ago, it was really fun to meet with you. Like, what could possibly happen? Everything.
Right, hang up. I hate you.
Right. Okay. Thanks, weirdo. Bye. That's not the worst case scenario by a long shot. Connectivity, that's the skills. That's the muscle development. You got to be willing to put yourself in that spot, because here's how I think about it. I encourage people to think there's one person out there waiting for you. You haven't met yet, but they're waiting for that connection. Think about it that way. Frame the positive, the mindset. The why is to connect. The mindset is like, well, of course I can do this. Let's see what happens. And then it's magic.
When you don't know unless you put yourself out there.
Yes.
Right. I mean, in any context, like I was at a stage many years ago where I was switching careers and I was really looking for a mentor, but I didn't have the finances in place to hire, a coach at the time. And I remember, and I believe in working with people and having coaches. I've always had a coach or somebody to, like you said, to help to push you up, right? Mm-hmm. But I reached out to somebody who I respected. I only had met them actually one time before, but there was something about them that I respected, and they were where I wanted to be. Mm-hmm. So I reached out and I said, I know you might, think this is crazy, but, I wanted to ask you if you would be open to mentoring me and meeting with me once a month and blah, 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 blah. And she said yes. She said yes, because I put myself out there. She could have said no, but
yes.
Is that the worst thing that could happen, is that I would ask and she would feel, I always say to somebody, how would you feel if someone asked you or connected with you after 3 years or whatever? How would you respond? And that's typically what you can expect someone else. If you're, if you would respond, well, wow, I'd be surprised that they would call after 3 years and still remember me or have my card or whatever. And would I be open to the conversation? Sure. Right. So I think it's that we get so caught up in our head about, the worst case scenario, and then like live there in that worst case scenario.
Yes. Knock that stuff off. Mel Robbins nailed it with her 5-second rule.
Yeah.
Anybody who's if anybody who lets that happen to themselves, and we all do it, we hesitate. And in that hesitation is the kiss of stoppage of progress, quite frankly. You wake up in the morning and you're like, oh, it's so cozy in here, and I want to do this. Okay, go. The 5-second genius, and it's not just scientifically proven. It's the same thing with connecting.
Yeah.
Know that there's somebody out there who wants to hear from you. Know that you will make somebody's day better. Yeah, you're going to get the odd, I don't remember you. This is strange. No, thank you. And that's cool too. That's great. Give people the room to say no, thank you. And just like this woman you called, this person was female, right? They're super flattered. People, here's some juice. Here, remember this. The saying, I like to trip the saying that you never know upside down. You always know people are paying attention. You always know it. So pay attention to how you present yourself in your world. That's why your why and your mindset are so critical. They are fundamental. I don't believe you can connect without those things. You certainly can't connect well. If you don't have those things, you are slimy, you are slippery, you are networking, and you are superficial. When you choose to really dial into yourself first, that is magnetic, Penny. It's truly the attraction, that law of attraction, whatever you want to call it. When people see that you know your why, and they don't have to see that it's energy. They feel it. They can see it in your actions
all the time. Energy is everything.
Energy is truly everything, literally. So that's what's powerful. I love what's that something about them. I'm gonna take that and run with that one too. So that's a good Pennyism. I appreciate
What's that?
When you say how you said, think about how that other person is thinking about you, and like there's something about them. Turn that around. Like, what is that role modeling or that reverse engineering of that? Is there something there? What is that something? And you don't always have to explain it. Humans, we want an explanation for everything. We want to know exactly technically why. Well, we don't have all that. And trust is a huge part of belief, because beliefs aren't the truth. Beliefs aren't the truth. Beliefs are our own experiences, opinions, ideas, and so forth. So different than a fact. But when you know that connecting with people is your jam, you will make progress in all those things.
Right. You know, we could sit here and talk all day.
We could.
Right? And so maybe we'll have to have a part 2.
All right.
For today's show, you know, I'd like to wrap it up. And what's your website where people can best reach you, and you know, and find out more information about you and other things that you have available?
Certainly. Thank you. So gingerjohnson.com, nice and straightforward. GINGER, your favorite root. Johnson, and everything I have is on there. I do have my the icons out to the different sites as well. I do a lot on YouTube, so a lot of instructional, insightful. I like to have a good time with it too. They're short and sweet. Most of them are 2 minutes or less. A lot of them are in that minute and a half range. LinkedIn, very active on LinkedIn. So if you're interested in more there, send me an invite. Personalize your invite. Here's another juice. Personalize your invite when you're inviting people to come with you. Don't just send it automatically. I don't care. You're not telling me anything. Twitter, Ginger Johnson. Instagram, that's my newest platform. So I'm learning a lot more on there. Ginger the Connector. So I think you have all those links as well, Penny. So that gingerjohnson.com will take you everywhere you want to go. There it is in the background as well. So
awesome. And maybe just to close out, let's hear something really deeply personal from you that was like the moment that you knew that like this was your path. Because I think we all have that moment. And sometimes it takes us, I'm just discovering some of what that moment and putting all the pieces together. But I think that you're aware, you know, what was that emotional moment that had you aware that this is your path?
Yes, that's a great question, Penny. When I open many of my talks, I talk about my prairie dog and or my super tanker turning. Those things don't happen quickly, and they can be very frustrating. It took me about 1.5 to 2 years to turn my ship, to find connectivity. It was a very intentional effort. I knew it wasn't going to be the thing I had been doing. I didn't know what it was going to be. And so I did some very proactive exploration. I invited friends over. Hey, I got this idea. Would you listen to this? Would you give me your feedback? And you know, tap into the people you know. Those are your ripples. They want to help you. And so the moment I realized it, I was doing my prairie dog, and as I would pop up, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is the thing, and this is great. And then slowly I'm like, it's not, back to the drawing board. And I pop up again. Like ideas are not a problem for me. It's choosing that golden thread. I remember the day I popped up. I mean, this is interesting. Nobody's asked me this question before. I remember the day that I popped up like, oh, it's connectivity. And it's always been. Now, what is it? I knew what it was for me. I knew the human connection, that the connecting on purpose with a service mindset, the creating and developing relationships. I knew what that was. So then I needed to describe what it was. That's where the book came from. Like I said earlier, I wanted to be super clear so other people could immediately understand and use it as the tool it's designed for. That's why connectivity, human connection, is so crucial to me, because I connected with my own why first, and now I can't wait to share it with everybody and anybody who wants to hear it, because the deep part of my why is I know what it feels like to be so blissfully connected to your purpose. I've had different moments like that in my life. I've worked my butt off and fortunate as well. And like, I know what those moments are. Those are Camelot periods. Mm-hmm. And I want to help other people develop into that self finding their why first and having them feel fully connected. That's why it's so important to me. And that's why I love it. And that's how it changes the world and how I want to change the world with it.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being here, Ginger, and bringing so much energy and some great tips for everybody to see how they can really embrace connectivity and all of those 7 cosmos.
Yeah, the elements in the cosmos. Yes. Well, thank you, Penny. It's a pleasure. And we can do as many parts as you want, because there's a lot more connection where that came from. I appreciate your gracious invite.
Thank you. And thank you all for being here, because without you, there would be no show. So, and I would love to connect with all of you even more. I'd like to hear from you as to what kind of topics you'd like to engage with, and really engage with me more. That is something that I would like to purposefully do more of in 2020. And, and as I said, purposefully connecting is really the theme of this show. Connecting with your why, connecting with other people, and serving is something that we need more of in this next decade, because people are busy, people are distracted. And so, if we're going to create more peace in this world and create even more profitability in this world, we need to come together. We need to connect, to collaborate, and really work together to be happier and create more meaning for ourselves in our lives. So that's what I want for all of you for 2020. Happy New Year. And with that, I encourage you to, if you're new to the show, go back and listen to some of the other episodes. And if you've been here a long time, welcome. And I'm excited to have a really great year ahead of us. So my name is Penny Zenker, and this is Take Back Time. I will see you in the next episode.
Thank you for listening. Today's topic is another opportunity for you to put the knowledge you learned into practice. Tune in again next week for more strategies that will help you have more energy and focus to get more done in less time, so you can continue to take back time.